Hey guys, it's Timmy, and this is Pro Wrestling Unlimited, as we are here on the 22nd of July, 2019, to talk about tonight's Raw Reunion episode. You know, tonight's Raw Reunion was a hit and a miss, I think, at the exact same time. I think there were some interesting, cool, little wacky, zany things that took place on the show, but as far as only being 3 weeks or so away from SummerSlam, it really did nothing, for me at least, to build up to SummerSlam. And that's why, honestly, I can't really, if I were to give the show a rating, give it any higher than maybe a 7. And that's being generous, giving the show a 7. Not because the show is bad, but because I felt you need to build up to SummerSlam. SummerSlam is your second biggest show of the year now. Some may say third biggest, depending on how you look at it with the Royal Rumble and stuff. But, you know, SummerSlam is legit one of your top 3 biggest shows of the year. And what did they do tonight that really built up to SummerSlam? What was done on tonight's show that was like, oh, wow, I'm even more excited for SummerSlam, or that's interesting, I didn't expect that for SummerSlam, or okay, cool, they're building stuff up for the next pay-per-view. And they really did nothing other than maybe we get Joe and Roman again, which I doubt. But it's like, what's really going to... I don't know. The show was fun. I will say that. I'm not going to say that it wasn't. The show was fun. Yeah, Kristen, you're right. Okay, Kristen got me there. Natty Becky. They did make it more personal, the Natty Becky thing. So I do got to give you that one. But other than that, nothing else. Now, don't quote me on this, but apparently Brock was supposed to be on the show, and they were supposed to build Brock versus Seth, and I heard, but I didn't get it 100% confirmed, that something may have happened backstage earlier in the day with Brock, and he bolted. He left. He took off. He got mad and didn't stay for the show. I can't confirm that 100%, but it was something that I was told may have happened. So the whole Paul Heyman, Seth Rollins thing with Miz TV, I don't know if it wasn't supposed to be Miz TV and they changed it to that when the Brock thing happened, or if, you know, it was always supposed to be Miz TV and Brock was supposed to come out with Paul. I don't know all that. All I know is I was told something may have happened backstage with Brock. Brock got mad and may have left. Hence, we didn't see Brock on the show when Brock was advertised for the show. So we'll see. Chris McNeil says, what do you think of the women winning the 24/7 title? I wasn't super surprised. I mean, I kind of was, but I knew eventually someone would win it. I thought that first woman would have been Carmella, but I didn't like the way that they got the title off the woman. I would have liked better if, say, Candice Michelle had the belt. You know, Candice Michelle pinned Kelly. Say she had the belt and Alundra Blaze didn't tap her out, but something happened to where she was tripped. Like you can have a man beat her and not have to attack her. You can have a man like a Drake Maverick trip her, or have his wife knock her out and then he pin her and get his belt back, or Carmella knock out Candice Michelle or Kelly and have Truth. You know, you could have done something that way. I didn't like the whole, she's going to throw it away. Never mind, Ted DiBiase bought it off of her. I didn't like that, but I didn't mind the women being involved with it. I thought it was nice. I thought it was cool. So let's just get right into it. Excuse me. So the show kicks off with John Cena, and apparently that was a Vince McMahon call. He felt like this is a big show. We need to get this crowd popping early, and who's better to do that than John Cena? I mean, Stone Cold could have done it, but as we saw, they waited to put Stone Cold at the end, which was smart. You want to get a good third-hour rating, you keep Stone Cold to the end, so people have to wait the whole show to see Austin, which this and one or two other things kind of was underwhelming, but we'll talk about the Austin thing when we get there. So Cena kicked off the show, and he received a great reaction. He came out, John Cena, John Cena sucks. They did that thing. Then there was some in the crowd that was just chanting regular John Cena. And it was all good. It was all good. Perfect, great John Cena reaction. Once his music cut, he was mostly cheered. He wondered if all he had to do to get cheered was be part of a reunion. He ran down some of the names appearing tonight, including Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, DX, Steve Austin, and others. Most of them got cheered, but there was a small little part of the crowd that booed when he said Hogan. Cena said that he missed being here. He called this his home, and he said he wasn't just talking about Tampa where he lives, but the ring that he is standing in. He said he was excited to be here tonight and be back one day. So I don't know if that was foreshadowing that maybe he's going to wrestle again. Who knows? He's getting some good movie roles. I mean, he was supposed to be filming Fast and the Furious. So if anyone doesn't know, Cena's in the next Fast and the Furious movie. The movie is currently being filmed in London. Now, I don't know if Cena already got this approved before or if... So what happened was somebody got hurt. A stuntman got hurt and they halted production. Nobody's filming right now at Fast 9. So Cena basically had the day off anyways. I don't know if that happening made it possible for Cena to come, or if Cena had already gotten the approval to come beforehand, because Cena wasn't, Cena wasn't really, quote-unquote, announced ahead of time. So I don't know if that was the case, but somebody did get hurt. A stuntman did get hurt on the filming, on the set of Fast 9. Nobody's filming today. I don't know how many days they're off for while the guy, they figure out what they're doing with the stuntman. So Cena he had the day off anyways. Cena said he missed being here. He called this his home, like I stated, and the Usos would then come out. Uso said that the fans wanted them to drop rhymes with Cena, and Cena started to leave, and the crowd booed. Usos wondered if he was still the doctor or the man who left us for the movie business. Cena came back in and proceeded with a rap, telling the Usos they looked like their mugshots and asked what it was like being arrested. The Usos appreciated that line. Cena was about to leave the ring again, but they told him to stay because their dad was coming out. Yes, Rikishi came out. Great reaction from the crowd. Cena went to leave again, but Rikishi called him back in. Rikishi said he couldn't let Cena leave. Rikishi said he couldn't let Cena leave so fast and furious without busting a move. They were about to do the Rikishi Too Cool dance. It was funny because Rikishi and both Usos knew how to stand. Head down, hands clasped with the waist, and Cena standing there looking at them, lined up with them, but his arms were out like, what do I do? What do I do? Cue the music, boom, out come the Revival. So the Revival came out. For some reason, they had Devon Dudley as backup, and we learned that we're getting the Revival versus the Usos next. Backstage, Hulk Hogan told Jimmy Hart he was pumped for tonight and mentioned some of the names backstage like Kurt Angle, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Jerry Lawler. They also aired a SummerSlam commercial a couple times tonight, where regular SummerSlam commercial, and then all of a sudden at the end it's Bray Wyatt, scary face. Before we go forward, got some super chat donations. Thank you to Willie's Network. He states, do you think Raw Reunion was better than Raw 25? Yes, because Raw Reunion was better because Raw 25 doing the whole jumping back and forth between the two arenas just didn't really work well. It was cool, but it didn't work as well as they thought it would. And also we got Luke Might here. He says Brad Shepard blocked me on Twitter because I told him he's always wrong, which he is. I added the last part saying which he is because he usually is. And when he's not wrong, it's because somebody else reports something and he rewrites it on his Twitter really quickly stating, oh yeah, I reported that. They took it from me. No, you didn't, bro. Anyways, Booker T came out before this match started, and Booker T was on commentary. Chris McNutt with a good question before we get going. Actually, no. We'll talk about that in a minute when we do see her come up. So, match went about 7-8 minutes, and they actually did the split screen. They went through a commercial break. They only did the one Burger King commercial, so it could have just been a sponsored ad kind of deal. Ron Simmons, Farouk was in the commercial. But this does give me hope that Raw may be able to that they're going to allow Raw to do the picture-in-picture during the commercials like we see on SmackDown, which means, God, no more how to get to a commercial break in the middle of a match kind of crap, because that stuff is just bad. But, hey, no wrestling during the commercial? They did it in this match. After Jey Uso fell to the outside, Devon was about to go after him, and Rikishi got in his face and backed him up. Jimmy Uso gave Scott Dawson a super kick and another to Dash Wilder. Jey Uso gave Dawson a diving splash for the victory. So I don't know why this match was needed. I mean, we just saw the Revival defeat the Usos at Extreme Rules. Maybe they're going to do this match again for the tag titles at SummerSlam. We'll see. They let us know that Seth Rollins will be a guest tonight on Miz TV, and he will be facing AJ Styles later as well. So backstage, we see Alicia Fox and Caitlyn. Now, I think it was Kristen McNutt. Yes, Kristen McNutt says, is Alicia Fox retired? Is that why she's not on the active roster anymore? And she is. If you go to WWE's roster page, she is still listed on the Raw roster. Why they were treating her like a returning legend superstar, I have no dang clue. Because she was talking about, I'm going to be at SummerSlam and I need a big hat. So I don't know what's going on with Alicia Fox completely, to be honest. So Dana Brooke was there as well. Tori Wilson showed up, and then they were joined by Santino. They actually asked him how his sister's doing, and he's like, oh, she's under the weather. She can't be here tonight. Santino could have been better. Santino was one of my favorites, not like my favorite wrestlers, but I like Santino so much that me and my buddy would watch Santino segments on YouTube. Just over and over because he was so funny. Again, Alicia Fox was talking about wanting a big hat for SummerSlam. She gave her hat to Caitlyn. Santino said something about his... he was asked about his little friend and he pulled out his Cobra. He teased them for a bit until Drew McIntyre showed up. Kind of like a dick reference, kinda. Like getting hard. A little weird that they did that. And Drew McIntyre shook his head at the legends and walked off. Charlie Caruso then interviewed R-Truth and Carmella. Now, I know we did a video earlier stating that they may not be here tonight, which, as of this morning, they were advertised for the SmackDown Live event. I don't know if the advertising was just wrong or if things were changed during the day, but I assume advertising was just wrong, and I do apologize for that report, putting out there that they may not be on the show. So they aired some footage from Comic-Con, courtesy of IGN, where Hurricane Helms came up and tried to roll up R-Truth for the 24/7 title, and failed. Drake Maverick in a banana costume tried to do the same thing and failed as well. Truth made animal jokes to Charlie Caruso when Renee Michelle would show up and distract R-Truth and Carmella. The distraction actually was long enough to let Drake Maverick, or not let, but allow Drake Maverick to roll up Truth and pin him, becoming the new 24/7 champion, which led to a string of title changes for that belt throughout the night. Well, throughout the first 2/3 of the show, not the whole night. And I think Renee Michelle's really good on screen, and they should keep her around. Her and Drake Maverick, they're good together. I mean, they're a real-life couple. They're married. They got great chemistry on camera, unlike some other real-life couple we know in WWE. And she can be a little bit better with her comedic timing, but over time she can learn, and she can fill into that role and whatnot. So then we got Drew McIntyre versus Cedric Alexander. The match never actually happened. McIntyre got out of the ring as Alexander was coming down during his entrance. Alexander fought him off for a minute, hit him with a soccer kick and a moonsault off the second ropes to the outside. McIntyre then launched him into the post and drove him into the barricade. McIntyre then gave him one of the inverted Alabama slams on the edge of the ring. Looked great. Alexander sold it perfectly. And that was it. Drew McIntyre got revenge for getting beat, but Cedric Alexander didn't technically get beat, so that leads you to believe that they may want to do some things with Cedric going forward, and that's why they didn't technically want to beat him. So we see Drake Maverick backstage, scampered into his locker room to grab his stuff. He opens up his luggage, and it's full of worms, and we know what's coming here. It's the Boogeyman. Lights turn down, they turn red, and the Boogeyman appears, scaring Drake Maverick. Maverick goes to back away when he's knocked over by 78-year-old Pat Patterson. Pat Patterson keeps kicking him. Finally tells the referee, hey, count, as he puts his foot on top of him. New WWE 24/7 champion and 78-year-old Pat Patterson. Crowd popped for when this happened. So next up, Christian came out and he joined commentary. He hugged fellow Canadian Renee Young. Lillian Garcia was introduced as a guest ring announcer for this next match. It was the Viking Raiders against Ryder and Hawkins. Squash match lasted about 2.5, 3 minutes. During the match, Christian was putting over the Revival, saying that they're a great old school feeling tag team. Christian, not the Revival, what am I talking about? That's a different segment. I wrote that wrong. Christian was putting over the Viking Raiders. Christian made sure to say that they can surpass the accomplishments of the Dudleys. He said they remind him of the Dudleys and they could be better. He was then asked, who's better, you or Edge? And he joked saying, well, who's here tonight? So Hawkins and Ryder tried to catch the Viking Raiders off guard at the beginning of the match, but it didn't work. Viking Raiders won quickly, like I said, in like 2.5 minutes, hitting the Viking experience. Christian said Hawkins and Ryder might have won if they were Christian heads and not Edge heads. He should have said if they were peeps and not edge heads. They then showed a little party backstage. Mike Kanellis was seen us after we saw a couple of the legends. Maria yelled at Mike. She said, what are you doing here? I needed you. He's like, I'm talking to Eve, your old friend Eve Torres. He's like, also, you know Eric, right? And Eric Bischoff appears. And Maria yells at him again, and Eric Bischoff, great line here. He was like, hey, if you're not happy on Raw, you can always come over to SmackDown. I love that line, and I wish we would have saw more of this throughout the night of him like trying to recruit people away from Raw to SmackDown, since we know he's quote-unquote the creative director of SmackDown now. We then see Ron Simmons appear. He grabbed the megaphone from Ron Simmons and did his trademark damn right on Mike Kanellis. And God, Mike Kanellis must have had his ears ringing for quite a few minutes because that megaphone was right in his face when he did that. Jillian Hall was also in the background, but she wasn't actually acknowledged. We then got a commercial for SmackDown tomorrow, which we already knew about all this. Shane McMahon will address and call out Kevin Owens, and Kofi will make a SummerSlam challenge. So backstage, AJ Styles spoke with Gallows and Anderson. They got new t-shirts and a new name. So they're still technically the club, but we're only supposed to call them the OC. The OC is supposed to stand for the official, the original, and the only club. Styles said that they were the originals and that calling themselves the OC is going to be what's going to set them aside from other clubs. And Styles said he's going to beat Rollins. So backstage, Pat Patterson was knocked down, and all of a sudden we see Gerald Briscoe standing next to him. Gerald Briscoe. Well, Gerald knocks him down, and Pat calls him a stooge. Gerald then pins him and becomes the new 24/7 champion. 72-year-old Gerald Briscoe pins 78-year-old Pat Patterson to win the belt. So Gerald walks off, and he meets Kelly in a hallway. And he's like, Kelly, how you doing? She's like, oh, hi. And she gives him a hug, only to knock him down with a low blow, pin him, becoming the first woman to win the 24/7 championship. So going forward, Samoa Joe comes out for a promo. Joe said, like Raw Reunion, this is just a plague of the WWE. It's ridiculous that we need to come out here with all this nostalgia, wasting time. He said instead of seeing Joe doing what he can do best, and that's painting in brutality and sculpting in violence. He said that the Usos got their daddy spouting rhymes with Cena. He said he was surprised they didn't dance around more than they did, which they were going to, but they were cut off. Roman Reigns would then come out. Roman told them that if he had something to say about his family, say it to his face, where Joe replied, and I quote, I already said something about your family. What are you going to do? Roman said that they were from the same island, and Joe knows what happens when you talk about somebody else's family. Joe tried to go for a cheap shot, and Roman fought him off. Joe then raked the eyes of Roman Reigns and launched him shoulder first into the post. Ever since this shot, Roman was actually selling the shoulder throughout the entire segment and match, so hopefully he was just selling it well, and he didn't actually hurt it. Joe tossed Reigns into the ringside. As the crowd chanted for Roman, Joe was all over until Reigns came back with a Superman punch, knocking Joe off the apron to the floor. Joe grabbed a mic and teased getting back in the ring. He then told Roman, if you want to fight, come out here and fight me. Crowd cheered. Joe didn't really care about that. He began to leave, and Roman assured Roman assured to the crowd that not all Samoans are cowards, but this one is. Joe then said, you want to fight? You want a match right now? Fine, let's do it. I'll put you to sleep. And we got a 6-minute match almost between the two. Really good match, actually. Roman was in control until Joe dodged a charge and ranged his shoulder first into the post again. So I don't know if he hurt himself because, like I said, he did the post thing twice, and he was selling that shoulder really well. And I don't know, again, like I said, if he was just selling it well or actually hurt it. Joe chucked Reigns out of the ring and nailed him with a suicide dive. Joe went for a shoulder dive later, but Roman's moved out of the way and hit a drop kick. Reigns came back with a leaping clothesline, clotheslines in the corner, and a big boot. Joe avoided a Superman punch and hit an inverted atomic drop, big boot, senton for a near fall. Joe applied the kick in a clutch, but Reigns slipped out and followed it up with a spear. So Joe got in the coquina clutch. Reigns slipped out. Joe was dumped over the top rope. Joe landed, back of his head, crashed down on the actual, apron of the ring. And he hit hard. Joe gets back into the ring, barely gets up when Roman hits him with a spear. Roman pins him 1, 2, 3, and Joe was moving around a little weird here. After the match, after the pin, he rolled over like he was trying to kick out but couldn't really do a real kick out. It was weird. Almost thought that he was messed up and hurt here as well. So after commercial break, after commercial break, we got Miz TV, special guest Seth Rollins. Miz plugged his show and admitted to not being above promoting his own stuff here on Raw. He introduced Rollins. They showed a replay of Rollins winning the Battle Royal. Now, last week on Raw, Miz then showed a replay almost immediately after of what happened at Extreme Rules. Rollins did some not funny comedy impersonating Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar. He said despite Lesnar's gifts, he would never beat him again, he said. He then called Lesnar a Seth Rollins wannabe. Heyman would interrupt. He was in gorilla position, seen on the big screen. Heyman told Rollins he can't complain about Lesnar cashing in because Rollins did the same thing to him at WrestleMania 31. Rollins said true, but it also took Brock 4 years to repay the favor. Heyman then came out on the stage, and he was about to say something when Rollins cut him off and threatened to walk up the aisle and beat him up. Heyman ran away. Rollins said Lesnar was just a man, and he can lose to anybody and will lose a SummerSlam. Rollins said the Universal title will be on the line, and he will get his belt back. Rollins said that he didn't get ready by resting like Lesnar does. He gets ready by facing the best, and tonight he's going to burn it down against AJ Styles. This is okay. Again, it was kind of underwhelming. Like I said, there was a few things tonight that were a little underwhelming, and this was one of them. So before so Seth Rollins goes to the back, and we see there's the party going on again. Charlie Caruso wanted to interview a few of the legends, and Sami Zayn interrupt. Sami said that people don't want to see these legends when they can see the current roster doing what they do best. He said watching tonight's show was like watching it through the Face app, seeing all the old people from the Attitude Era that really don't need to be back. Who told them all to go home, stay away, and up will come Rey Mysterio. Rey told him that he needed to show some respect for all the people that paved the way. Zayn threatened to pave the road right through Rey, and Kurt Angle appeared. Angle said, when I was the GM, I didn't let people just argue in the back. We settled our differences in the ring. Rey thought that was a good idea and walked off. Sami said, fine, and here we go. Kelly then walked up to Candice Michelle, Naomi, and Melina. Kelly wondered what Melina had been up to all these years, and Melina said, I got my license. And they were like, what? License? She unzips her jacket, and she's wearing a referee shirt. So apparently, she's a quote-unquote licensed WWE referee. And when Candice Michelle realizes this, she attacks Kelly and pins her. She then did her little Kelly dance, her Candice Michelle little swivel dance, which basically the same thing as Nikki Bella, but I think Nikki stole it from Candice. Kind I don't know. They kind of both were around at the same time, so they probably... No, I think Candice was doing it first. Anyways, Alundra Blaze would come up, and she would put the weakest choke on Candice Michelle. Candice started tapping out. Alundra yelled at Melina to call this a tap out. Melina did, and Alundra Blaze, new 24/7 champion. As she walked off, she goes, I got the belt, but I'm not going to have it for long. Jonathan Coachman then joined commentary. And we got Rey Mysterio versus Sami Zayn in a 5-minute match. Mysterio set up Zayn for a 619, but Zayn escaped the ring. He was about to leave until RVD's music would hit, and he came out. He was then joined by Sergeant Slaughter, Hurricane, and Kurt Angle. Zayn slipped back into the ring. Mysterio caught him with a 619, frog splash, pinned him. RVD, Kurt, Sergeant Slaughter, and Helms did nothing. I guess Sami Zayn's the new Heath Slater. We got a bunch of legends that you got to do something with, and there's a match. I don't even know. I should have put Heath Slater in the spot, to be honest. Now, everyone was asking me, why is RVD there? I thought he was under contract with Impact. He is under contract with Impact through their Bound for Glory pay-per-view, I want to say in October. And RVD did get the approval, the okay from Impact to do this one show, one night only. And WWE took advantage. They were selling merch. They were selling RVD foam fingers for $5. They were making sure they got their money's worth out of this deal. So then Alundra Blaze. Well, first we see Ric Flair arrive in a limo. Montez Ford was then walking around backstage and he found Angelo Dawkins. Dawkins was applying eye drops into his match, and Ford wondered why he was doing that. And Dawkins told him he'd been hanging with RVD. So I was like, oh, you shouldn't have said that. Now they're going to drug test you, bro. Which, it was a funny line, I guess. They said that they were also back there with Mark Henry, Kelly, Ric Flair, the Boogeyman. Dawkins took a call from the Godfather and walked off. Ford was jealous, and the crowd popped for the name of RVD, even though they just saw him like 3 minutes prior. So Alundra Blaze comes out to the commentary desk, grabs the trash can, and threatens to throw the belt away. Cheesy. And out will come Ted DiBiase. Again, this was another segment that was very underwhelming. So DiBiase comes out and says, everybody has a price. I'll pay you right now for that belt. Don't throw it in the trash. And she accepted. And that was it. She took her money, walked off. Dumb. Again, very underwhelming. It was the third underwhelming thing of the night so far. Another SummerSlam commercial, and then Jerry Lawler joined commentary. Michael Cole said, King came out for the best match of the night. It was AJ Styles, the U.S. champion, taking on Seth Rollins. Lawler said Styles was the nicest guy when he showed up to WWE 3 years ago, but now he seems full of himself. Graves wondered about someone who calls himself the King accusing somebody else of being full of themselves. Great line there by Corey Graves. Rollins was easily distracted by Anderson, so Styles knocked him off the apron. The OC members went all after Seth when DX's music played, and out would come Triple H, Shawn Michaels. They did the full-length commercial break here before coming back. When we came back, Styles and Rollins were in the ring ready to go, so I guess the match restarted. Well, I don't actually think the match technically ever started before the break, so I guess they did a wacky way to not wrestle through the commercial again. So they stood around. Rollins caught Styles with a few kicks. Anderson tripped him for the disqualification. DX then jumped into the ring to stop the beatdown from the OC. Styles and his buddies offered the too sweet to them. DX pretended to oblige and crotch chopped them. DX then sent them packing out of the ring. Styles was mad and they all grabbed steel chairs. Before they could attack, Road Dogg's music would hit. He came out with X-Pac, Scott Hall, and Kevin Nash. Nash and Hall wore NWO shirts, as all four members of DX wore cool Raw Reunion DX-inspired shirts that said, I was there. Apparently those shirts sold like crazy tonight. I was told by somebody that was there live, said that they went to try and get one and couldn't get one. So Road Dogg comes down, and he's like, yeah, there's 7 of us here Wait, where's Billy? I can't count. That's 8. Never mind, Billy's not here. Making reference to Billy Gunn can't be there. Or I don't even know if they asked Billy Gunn. He does work for AEW now. They did have him at the Hall of Fame, so they aren't too against him showing up. I don't know if he just wasn't allowed or didn't want to. So then there was a interesting exchange of words. I think it was between AJ Styles and Shawn Michaels. Now, give me 1 second. This is very interesting. So, where is it? I have it written. I have it right here. So AJ yelled at Shawn and Triple H, saying that he knows where NXT is, and said, "Don't think I won't go down there." Now, think about this. There's been some teases on social media of the OC against Undisputed Era. How cool would that be? That would be some cool stuff. I don't know when they would do the match. I don't know if it would be like that's just a random... Cause I guess it would have to be just at a random NXT taping. Maybe if this whole NXT on FS1 thing is going to become a reality, maybe the first NXT on FS1, we could see that 6-man, the club or the OC, taking on Undisputed Era, 3 members of Undisputed Era. So we'll see. Because AJ did do a interview with, I want to say it was Sporting News. And he was asked about his little back and forth with Adam Cole on Twitter, and he said that he would love to face them. So we'll see where it leads to. Before, let's see, Ted DiBiase jumped into a limo, proudly carrying the 24/7 title. After the door closed, there was a commotion inside the car. Maverick would then emerge with the 24/7 belt, celebrating when he saw his wife. He was then chased by all the regular cast of characters to chase the 24/7 champion. Michelle told him to come back as she waited in the limo for him, I guess with DiBiase. Mick Foley would come out. I liked this. So Foley came out to the ring. As he spoke, Maverick ran around, and the other wrestlers ran through the ring. Foley wanted to go after him, but didn't. Foley said that he was asked to pick a favorite moment of his career from Raw. He began showing a replay of his WWE Championship win. When the lights would go out, everything would darken, and Bray Wyatt would appear. The lights would turn on, and he put Foley in the mandible claw. I liked this. Lights going in and out. Excuse me. Lights were going in and out as Bray was just sitting there with the mandible claw on Mick Foley. Finally, he let it go. He posed in front of the camera. Crowd popped huge for Bray Wyatt yet again. Little bit of a mixed reaction. More cheers than boos. I think the boos may have only been, "Oh, you did it to Foley." But I like this. I thought this was really cool and a good way to get Bray Wyatt on there and not have to have Finn Balor again, which we don't know what's going on with Finn right now. So then we got a moment of bliss. Becky Lynch. Alexa hosted alongside Nikki Cross. Bliss said that after what she just saw, we needed a little moment of bliss. They introduced Becky Lynch, and Bliss was about to ask her about facing Natalya at SummerSlam when Natalya would come out. Natalya said if Lynch had something to say about her, she can say it to her face. Bliss then showed a replay of their exchange last week after the Fatal 4-Way. Natalya said she couldn't believe the lack of respect, which I think she should have said lack of. Well, no, yeah, that's right. The lack of respect that Lynch showed her. Lynch accused Natalya of trying to cut her legs out from under her when she came to the WWE. Lynch also said that Natalya volunteered to train Ronda Rousey to beat her at WrestleMania. Lynch said that I beat Rousey, though. Lynch referred to her title belt as the scalp of the baddest woman on the planet. Lynch said that she was embarrassed. No, Lynch said she would embrace Natalya in her home country. No, embarrass. I had it written down wrong. Embarrass Natalya in her home country. Then they got into a brawl until they were cut off by officials. Natalya did also talk about Natalia did also talk about how the two of them actually teamed up back in the day in Japan. And that Natty thought that Becky would have more respect for her because of that, and this and that. They tried to make it as personal as they could, which I liked it. So Drake Maverick found Michelle waiting at the limo. They were about to leave when R-Truth tried to roll him up. So Truth tries to roll him up, and Drake Maverick grabs his wife by the hands, and he's just yelling, "Don't let me go! Don't let go! Don't let go!" And because she wouldn't let go, Truth couldn't execute the roll-up. So Carmella would come and kick the hands. They would let go, roll them up. New 24/7 champion. Truth starts the night as a champion. Truth ends the night as the champion. So Truth jumped in the limo, and it drove off. And Drake Maverick yells, "My baby, my belt, he took my title." And we see Carmella walk up. And Drake Maverick doesn't see who it is. He kind of just sees the shadow. And he's like, "Renee, he took my belt." And he looks up and he's like, "You're not my wife." "Wait, what? He also took my wife." So hopefully that plays into something with Drake Maverick's wife now, I guess, being kidnapped by R-Truth. I don't know. This should be some funny stuff. Because these four are making great content. Carmella, Truth, Maverick, and Renee. So Braun Strowman defeated Randy Rowe in 40 seconds. And I don't think his name being Randy Rowe was any, what's the word I'm looking for? This was done on purpose because Corey Graves said, "What did you say, Brandy Rhodes?" He literally freaking said that. So then it was time for the main event segment. A toast to Monday Night Raw. And this was horrible. Hulk Hogan was stalling for so long. So Flair enters to hit. So they got all the legends and returning superstars up on the stage. And they're all standing there. And Flair comes out first. Hogan's music then hits. He said that he and Flair bowed to each other, and Hogan apologized to Foley for getting a cheap pop in his hometown. He then thanked the fans, said, "What you gonna do when the Raw reunion runs wild on you?" His music played, and they panned around for a while. This was like 2 minutes before finally Austin's music would hit. Like, I don't know what happened here, but like Hogan's music is just hitting, and the people on the stage are just kind of like, "This is cool." They're looking out, looking all around. They're like, "Okay, what's happening? This is going on long enough." And finally Austin's music would hit. Austin came down, marched straight down to the ring. He posed in the ring, grabbed a cooler full of his own, Steve Weiser Austin IPA. Crowd chanted for Austin. He said to give them a hell yeah. Did it 3 times. He reminisced a bit about being in Tampa, but assured them that he wasn't going to get sentimental because he was also ready to drop everyone on the stage. He talked about everyone on that stage and how they've left their blood, sweat, and tears all over for this business. Crowd popped for that. He said that they were like family, his brothers and sisters. He said even the guy holding the camera, the guy driving the trucks, they were all like family. Fans in the arena and the people watching at home were sort of his family as well. So Austin said that he arrived here earlier in the day. So actually the show was like over. There was like 3 minutes left. Austin's music hits. Everyone comes down to the ring, and they're just in the ring. And I'm like, what? There's 3 minutes left, and they're just going to go out like this? And Austin gets back on the mic, and he goes, well, first, actually, I digress. First, before that, he said that he got here earlier in the day, and he hung out with Hulk Hogan. Recorded a podcast, drank some beer, ate some sushi. First time he's actually hung out like that with Hogan. He then said last night he stayed up all night because he was drinking beers and hanging out, listening to Ric Flair stories. He said they also bumped into Ron Simmons in the hotel, and he yelled, "Damn." He said they hugged for 20 minutes. So this is all over. He said that he thanked everyone for watching because Stone Cold said so. And he started handing out beers as the legends and returning superstars got in the ring. And all of a sudden Austin goes, wait. How much time do I have left before we go off the air? And I'm like, what the hell is this bullshit? He's like, Oh, I'm told him I got 60 seconds. Let me say something really fast. And told some weird story about Jonathan Coachman telling him to be himself out here tonight. That he hasn't been around for a while and he just needed some confidence or something. Something about Gerald Briscoe back in the day. He told them that this wasn't about sending them Christmas cards and any of that shit. Then he realized they were counting him down. They played his music to tell him we're done. And Austin was good here, but this again underwhelming. What a weird way to end the show. And that was Raw Reunion. It had its highs, it's had its lows. I liked all the 24/7 title stuff. AJ and Seth could have been better. Again, with all the DX and NWO stuff, it was just basically reminiscent of Raw 25 when they basically did kind of the same stuff with the Revival. But the difference was with the Revival, they hit all their finishers. So, yeah, that was Raw Reunion. We will not be live tomorrow following SmackDown. I do have a prior engagement. So, we'll see where this goes. Hopefully, some of the things from tonight that I wish they keep doing. I want to see more Braun Strowman squashes because they need to build Braun back up as a monster. And they need to build towards SummerSlam. Nothing other than the Natty, Becky stuff built towards SummerSlam. And when you're getting close, you can't have, especially a big show like SummerSlam, you can't have too many whatever shows. I think the show may do okay in the ratings because they did keep Austin till the end. But other than that, again, like I said, I can't give this show any better than like a 6.5, maybe a 7. Again, with that, I want to say thank you to everybody who did join me here tonight for the Raw Reunion episode of Raw. This is recap. Thank you to everybody who watched later right here on YouTube and everybody who listened on podcast services around the world like iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and so much more. Thank you guys. We'll be live again on Wednesday for the PWUnlimited Wednesday show. Have a good night, guys.